This is chapter 3 of A Rare Bird, A Turn of Events. Trickster woke everyone earlier than the eyes could bear. He gave the horn to his lead admiral. Tor, wake them up, get them moving. Tor blew his horn to wake everyone. Ava's eyes were tied to sandbags. She was so tired, but Tina kept shoving her until she woke up. Past the fields behind the tower was the next road. They had no other choice but to follow that road. The trees eventually enclosed on them. With the trees surrounding them, the shadows settled in. The soldiers shook inside their armor. The fear and silence ran thick. The soldiers were less than half of what they started with. Ava even started to get chills as an uncomfortable wind began to howl. Ava was tired and she started to lag behind. The others weren't truly paying attention, for they were watching the woods, waiting for something to pop out and make them surrender their strength. Tor was toward the back of the group, as well as he was eyeing the woods, but for a different reason. His eyes widened, for he must have found what he was looking for. Tor went to a regular brown tree along the path, and he placed his hands on the carvings in the tree. The initials T and A were indented into the tree by a sword carving. He gazed at it with soft and affectionate eyes, for it meant something dearly to him. Trickster walked by him. "What is it?" Tor snapped out of it. He took his hand off of the tree and left away nervous. "Oh, nothing. I'm fine, sir." Trickster took the lead to get ahead of his troops. "Then let's get moving!" The other troops started to hurry after Trickster, who was growing very impatient. He waited until many soldiers passed. Then, as Ava approached, he grabbed her and pulled her into the woods. He put his hand over her mouth so she couldn't scream. "I know it has to be around here somewhere." He looked around until he found a mound of leaves. "There it is," he smiled. Ava was struggling in his grip, watching as no one noticed. She disappeared. He then pushed Ava toward the leaves, and she fell into a pitfall. Everyone froze as Ava's piercing scream. Tor ran out and pointed toward the side of the woods. Sorry. "It seems our little Nova has fallen into a pitfall." He hid his smirk. Andrew instantly jumped in after her and slid down the dirt slide. Tina followed after Andrew while Trickster was ready to jump in as well. Tor pulled Trickster back before he could jump. No. You see the indents of the mountain?" Trickster looked toward the rising creases sticking out from the mountain. "There is obviously an underground structure here." It led off through the woods. Trickster looked into the pitfall, worried for his Nova. "Every structure or build has an entrance and exit. Let us follow the mound and wait for them at the exit." Trickster followed Tor along the mound, as did the troops. "How do you know so much about the place?" Tor was up to something. He hid his dark deeds. "It's a familiar place, that's all." Ava was crouched down on the floor, clutching her throbbing head. Andrew and Tina slid down the tunnel, making a much more graceful landing than Ava. Andrew helped Ava up. "Are you okay?" Ava nodded her head. She suddenly puzzled the thought. "Wait, no, I'm not okay. Tor grabbed me and tossed me down here." Tina folded her arms with a stone-cold glare. "That's bull, Ava. Don't lie," Tina snarled. "Why would I lie?" Ava asked with an angry mouth. "I don't know, probably to cover up the fact that you were trying to run away before falling into a pit." Andrew walked ahead of them both. Ava shook her head. "Andrew, you don't believe me either?" Andrew stroked the vein creases of his forehead in irritation. "Can we just focus on getting out of here?" Ava looked around to the underground forest. Moss covered the walls of what looked like an underground temple. Vines crept in from the top walls and ceiling. Andrew and Tina followed as Ava took the lead. The floor was cracking, and a sudden updraft of wind made the floor move up and down, plus side to side. Ava jumped right onto the first platform. "Hey, Ava, be careful, will you?" Andrew was worried, but she jumped from one platform to the other, no problem. "Okay," Ava yelled back. Tina shook her head at him. "Chill out, Andrew." Tina then jumped onto the platform, and Andrew followed. Tina stepped on the next platform and almost fell back. Andrew caught her and held his ground. Ava kept her balance all the way until she reached the other side. Andrew helped Tina along until he caught up to Ava. A small pink orb floated by her. She walked to a giant green wall that suddenly pulled apart for her to enter. The pink orb went through the door, and Ava ran after it. "Hey, wait," she said. Andrew and Tina looked at each other, confused as to who she was talking to. They ran after her, shouting, "Ava, wait up!" Past the door was a small maze of cracked walls. Ava was following a pink orb that was invisible to the others. Nature's pure source of energy could only be seen by a Nova. She ran left to right again, and then around a corner, then left. They followed her into a small meadow. A giant tree root covered in moss carved down to the floor. Ava began to climb the root as Tina said, I hate nature. Bugs everywhere. She started swatting at the buzzing creatures. She stomped at the ground of creepy crawlies. Tina then looked at the moss and green vegetation everywhere. This place could use a little, I don't know, metal. Technology is where it's at. Ava followed the pink orb up the mossy root. She then turned to Tina and Andrew, who were staring at her oddly. You humans really don't know how to appreciate the world around you. Nature is beauty. If you can't see that, then you've lost the human's best trait. Tina gave Ava a smug look. And what's that, nature guru? She grunted, annoyed. Ava raised her eyebrows, insulted. Whatever you collect with your eyes, it seeps into your soul. Whatever seeps into your soul, it spills out your mouth. I see exactly what's in your heart, and I see how far the humans have fallen. Tina squinted at Ava as her frustration grew. Tina looked around again. She still couldn't see any improvement, only because her mind was so accustomed to a man-made system. Tina was addicted to creation of man, where Ava was addicted to something that could never be created by man. She respected such impossible creation. Tina could not see the beauty of the natural scene even when it was right in front of her. This place is old and ugly. The flooring looks like it can go any minute. Ava glanced to see the pink orb slip into the ground. Ava grew a vine that dropped from the ceiling. She grabbed it and jumped off of the root. Wait, what are you doing? Andrew yelled. Ava dropped right to the floor, and her weight and force of gravity helped to collapse the floor just like Ava wanted. She slid down the vine into another room. Get down here, she yelled. They still didn't know how Ava knew what she was doing or where she was going. But they didn't have time to ask her because she always took off running after that pink orb. She jumped across a broken path to the second platform, and she began to climb the stairs leading higher up to a second path. Andrew and Tina were more exhausted than she was. She was used to climbing things and running around instead of relying on a lazy advancements that could drive one someplace while sitting down. One must be constantly active in nature, while in society the rest succumb to a lazy nature and an easy do-it-all system. Even in all of their training to become soldiers, Andrew and Tina weren't used to so much running. They followed her up the stone steps. Squawks suddenly came from the ceiling, and large black birds descended from the wild branches that consumed the ceiling. Many vines hung from above. Ava walked steadily along the path as the birds flew down. Ava, watch out! Andrew yelled in concern. She waved her hand. You guys watch out. You're the humans after all. She continued to follow the orb while Andrew and Tina glanced at each other bewildered. The birds avoided Ava completely and went straight for them with angered beaks and pointed claws. Andrew and Tina aimed their gun blades at the birds. Pink and green energy of the novas combined in their swords shot out at each of the birds. One bird came too close to Tina while she was aiming for another bird, but Andrew sliced it down too easily. Ava then turned back around as Andrew and Tina caught up to her. What's wrong? Andrew asked. They shouldn't have had to die, Ava said with a sullen glare. They attacked us. We had to defend ourselves, Tina snapped. Ava shook her head with strained lips. She was hurt by the loss of nature. On the contrary, nature was just defending itself. You humans shouldn't be here. All you know is destruction. You've taken everything from them, and from me. She followed slowly after the orb until another green door parted for her to walk through. Andrew knew Tina wanted to keep arguing with Ava, but he felt bad. Ava, I'm sorry. Ava smiled sincerely at him. I should just take my own advice. He stared intently at her soft features, being lured in inch by inch of every second that her lips moved. And what's that? He asked, intrigued. Tina folded her arms and followed after with an annoyed, smug face. If you can't accept someone at their worst, then you don't deserve them at their best. So I think I'll forgive you humans. They were in another maze of sorts, with different paths leading to many different directions. Ava took off to the right. This way! She followed after the pink orb again that suddenly sped up. Tina and Andrew tried to keep up with her as she turned many corners as fast as a bullet. How come it seems that Ava knows exactly where she's going? Tina asked. Andrew kept his pace and breath steady. I don't know. They followed Ava to another grassy path in a round meadow. Heavy roots from the trees above consumed the path. Ava ran under a root and found the next path. She was way ahead of the others, for they couldn't find her. Tina pulled Andrew under the root as she found Ava. There she is. Ava was waiting for them before she turned the corner. As the others tried to catch up to her, the flooring suddenly cracked and crumbled beneath them. Andrew and Tina jumped back and looked at Ava across the way. As the smoke consumed his vision, he yelled, Ava, are you okay? As the smoke cleared, she said, I'm okay. I'll take this path and we'll meet up at the exit, if there is one. She ran around the corner and Andrew watched her till she disappeared. I sure hope Ava will be okay. Tina gave a shrewd glare. Andrew picked up on her hostility as she said, You should be more worried about yourself. Trickster will be heated with you if something happens to her. Andrew walked back out and noticed another path behind a giant root spiraling from the top ceiling. He ducked under the root as Tina followed. They were on a high ledge that spiraled and led all the way down to the ground. Tina looked at the very bottom to see a buff, blue, furry monster below. It wore a silver mask along with broken metal shackles around his wrists and ankles. It was quite muscular. Andrew took notice of the monster's heavy breathing below. There was a giant boulder beside them at the edge of the path. Andrew stuck his sword below it and began to push. Here, help me! Tina drew her sword and helped Andrew push the boulder along. What exactly are we doing? She asked. Andrew had a plan. Just push. The boulder eventually gave way and tumbled down the ledge. It spiraled all the way down, banking off one corner to the next while gaining speed. When the giant hairy monster noticed the boulder, it was too late. The boulder banged off the wall and headed straight for the monster. It crashed him into the wall as a yellow key fell from him. As they made their way down the spiraling path, Andrew found the yellow key in the grassy parts of the broken tiles. Andrew picked it up. We might need it. Tina nodded her head. They headed toward another green door that parted ways for them on its own. They found their way to a metal pond with 3 waterfalls pouring down a structure of steps that led to the pond of clear water. There was another large green door with many vines creating many spiral designs on it. Tina looked around as no other path was available. There's no other path. Maybe this is the exit and Ava's not here. Andrew looked around worried. Oh no, we have to go back for her. They suddenly heard a knock behind a stone wall behind a giant green door. Andrew ran to the wall, wondering what that sound was. Hello, you guys! I could use a little help with the door. Andrew followed her voice. Oh, Ava, thank God you're here, Andrew said. Yeah, I've been waiting for you guys to get here. I guess I had the shortcut. But the door won't budge, Tina squinted. Tina looked at the bare wall and then to Andrew, bewildered. Ava placed her hand on the door and the wall began to crack as her hand glowed pink. The wall was now cracked enough to push open. What door? It's just the wall, Andrew said with a boggled glare. The door suddenly popped open and smacked Andrew right in the nose. He clutched his nose in pain as Ava stuck her head out from the door. This one. Oh, I'm sorry. I guess this only looks like a door from my side, she giggled. Whatever, let's just get going. There was a giant heart-shaped lock in the ground in front of the door. Andrew used the key the monster dropped and opened the lock in the ground. The heart-shaped lock cracked down the center as the heart broke in half. The door was then unlocked and parted for them to walk on through. Inside there was an indent of a leafless tree along the ground. A pedestal on the ground lay at the top of the branches while the other pedestal lay at the roots. Ava walked to the next door covered in grass and moss. It was locked, so Tina said, Now what? How do we get in? Andrew sat on the pedestal to think. I don't know. He was sick of the riddles and mazes. The pedestal suddenly sank into the ground, so he hopped off frightened. Tina, now knowing what to do, suddenly hopped onto the other pedestal as it sank into the ground. The tree design on the floor suddenly began to glow with hot pink orbs floating out from it. The doors then opened to reveal a dark staircase spiraling to the ceiling. Ava ran up it, so the others hurried to follow. Torches along the wall lit the way. They reached a dark circled area. Roots from the trees above the mountain grew into the ground and consumed the walls. Moss covered the ground and walls as well. Wild vines surrounded the flooring and carved through the tiles. Looks like a dead end, Andrew said. Ava followed the pink orb as it led her to a center stone tablet. The orb sank into the ground in front of the tombstone, and a full-grown yellow lily suddenly sprang from the ground. Ava sank to the ground as well, and Andrew and Tina had caught up with her. Andrew looked at the stone and wiped off the dust and cobwebs. Tina crossed her arms, getting a strange chill from the area. What is it? She asked. It's a grave. Ava looked at the writing on the tombstone, and she began to read. Life has not been fair to you, my love. When you died, I followed you. In heart I perished, in flesh I linger. You promised you'd come back to me, so I will wait. I will always miss you, Anise. Sincerely your eternal beloved. Andrew gave a secret glance to Ava as she read, while thinking of his own heart condition towards her.